of taking time now to prepare. What was that quote you used a couple weeks ago, Shane, about preparation versus dealing with it afterwards? It was like, yeah,
an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Is that the one? I think.
Yeah, like it's perfect. I mean, you don't have to have every single thing in your bag. Start with the basics, the most simplest things that you need. Like you can go 3 days without brushing your teeth, right? If it's a matter of like, I just can't fit everything else in, fine, leave that out, right? If it's a matter of, not everybody needs a first aid kit if you're planning for a family, but like we put all this stuff on the list so you have something to think about. One good trauma kit per family makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one water filter per family, one stove, those types of things. And I guarantee you, your wives and your daughters don't need to take their makeup or their hair dryers or any of that BS that takes them 2 hours. We'd be dead. If I had to wait for my wife to put on her makeup, we'd be burnt out. Our house would crumble down on us, those types of things. So yeah, absolutely, make priorities, make lists. Like you're saying, I think it's really great practice. I went through a period of time where I was making all different kinds of kits. Here's one. I tried to make a kit, what I could fit into this little thing here, right? And it was fun practice. I've actually, if you can see this thing, it just keeps disappearing. But I probably have $150 worth of stuff in this little tin here. So, and I mean, it's like you're saying, modules. This is my fire kit. It's just a little red bag. That's my fire kit. And I've got a water kit, and they're all modules that I can take from bag to bag. And I basically relate to this as getting ready to go on a backpacking trip or to go for a weekend or 3 or 4 days. Typically when we do that, we practice, okay, I'm going to see how it all fits in my bag, see what weight I'm at, and then carry it around to see if it's too heavy, see if I can add some weight. It all takes practice. And if you've backpacked before, you've done this before, it's not that difficult. It's maybe just changing up what you're taking. And then, like you're saying, skills and practice with what you're taking, because the more skills you have, most likely the less stuff you need to take.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. Like when you then take this list and you look at it in a shelter in place type scenario, then you want to add things like, instead of just like a water bottle per bag, right? Our home kits aren't backpacks, they're bins, plastic bins, right? And we've got, next to the plastic bins, we've got big water jugs, and we've also got a bucket with a poop lid on it, and bags and sanitizers, and toilet paper. Like we've got those in a certain room in the house, so that if we have to shelter in place for a long time and all the systems go down, we've got a place where we can relatively keep it warm without power. We've got blankets in there. We've got all the things in the checklists, but it's not portable, versus the portable list goes to the backpack stuff or the car kits or like those things. And so being aware of what's my family plan and what do I need? Like, funniest thing I've heard, a lot of people, when they talk about like, I've got a shelter in place and stuff, they never put a can opener where the canned food is. Like if they've got to stay in the basement, and they're like, what if we get stuck down here? We don't have a can opener down here. Or like a cold storage room, or like a bunker. Like it's that the pictures, you've probably all seen the meme. The Far Side, the guy and the lady in the bunker down there, and all these cans of food, and nukes are going off above. And she's like, where's the can opener? How many times have I told you to get a can opener? And he's just like, oops. Right. Well, the cool thing is with a can, like if you've got some semi-rough concrete, you can rub the can on that long enough that it'll pop open. Like you'll wear the metal off. It's not fast, but it can be done. So
just always carry one with you, right?
There you go.
You always have
even better option. But it's like put those tools where it makes sense to have those tools. And so, as good as our lists are, we're always going to recommend make a list that makes sense for you and for what you're going to face. Totally. So again, like
let's jump into the rest of that list then.
Okay. So like if you're sheltering in place, obviously, like for me, my cooking methods change, right? I may no longer have access to my stove, but my stove's my primary. If my stove's no longer working, what's my secondary? Well, I've got an oven and I've got a sun oven. Okay, well, I've also got my barbecue outside, which is not the most efficient way to cook, right? but it's got a single burner on the side, which is more efficient. And so I could be I'll be boiling water to purify, and also making goulash and stews and soups like crazy, because those are easy to prepare.
And also, if you consider what type of bag it is, like I call my bag most time it's just a go bag, right? And in particular, it's a get home bag. So it has multiple purposes, and I change modules out. But most of the time, I just have rations in there, things I don't even have to cook, because I'm going to be on the move. I'm heading home, right? I don't want to have time to light a fire. I got to be on the move. But with the ability to boil some water, those types of things, but to keep it really simple. So plan ahead. If you want to take freeze dried stuff, you want to eat well, get the Mountain House freeze dried, have a way to boil some water, right? And so that can be done very simply with a very portable stove and fuel tablets, or have a propane or a butane type stove. And there
have a fire. I was going to say, have a fire starter, have a kindling with little
absolutely
flint and steel. You can just grab some twigs or some kindling on the side of the road, find a tree, pull some of the whatever leaves, and you just and then you got to practice that, though. You got to practice starting a fire like that, because that's super simple, very light. You don't have to carry a stove, but you can create a little safe area. And then fire safety. You don't want to start a fire in thinking you're just going to cook your quick little boil your water, and before you know it, the tree next to you is on fire, and you're Moses in the burning bush. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to have,
or even worse, your carpet's on fire because you thought you could do this in the living room.
Yeah, exactly.
But also consider, what if it's it had just been raining or snowing and everything is wet, right? Are you going to carry fuel with you? So there's so many things to think about, especially when you've got kids with you and you've got to keep them safe and happy. And again, that's why my first go-to are my vehicles, right? To have everything already in there, especially if I'm going on a trip. I mean, I've got everything possible I could possibly have in those vehicles. But a few other things that and like you say, some of those things take practice to know how to start a fire when things are wet, right? And having a lighter, and it's awfully nice to have a ferro rod, but why would you have a ferro rod if you can carry a lighter, right? It's much easier, but have redundant and backup. One is none, two is one. But also tinder, those types of things, like those Esbit cubes where you could cook directly just off the cube by lighting it in a small Esbit type stove. So so many different ways, and that takes practice. That takes a lot of thinking and packing your kit and then starting over again and changing it up. So this is not going to work, and it's really not as simple as going and buying one off the shelf. This takes practice and planning. Maybe you have a module where you pull out your bin, your camping bin, just got your stove and all your food in there already. That's what we do. I have a bin with my stove in there and some food, and I grab that and we're good to go. Literally 30 seconds, it's in the vehicle, along with the other things I just mentioned as well. But shelter, water, food, and those are the basic. And if that's all you have, you're going to be fine.
Let me ask you guys this: what are your like top 3 or 4 things that you say everyone needs to have in their shelter in place kit?
Shelter in place.
That's moving this into home. Like looking at it as a home scenario where you have to stay home. What are the top 4 or 5 things you think everyone should have, either as a family kit or whatever? What's most important to you in those scenarios?
Well, for me, it would be one to have, if the water is still working on your faucet, then you don't need it. But if it's not working, you need to have storage of water, because you can cook, you can't cook stuff without water. You can't bathe without water. You can't live without water. The other thing I would think of is if the electricity's out, you'll need light. So flashlights, lanterns, some way to keep the light on at night. And then lastly, or next would be heat. Some way to keep the house warm, because, we can always throw on more clothes and we can always have more blankets in our house, but sometimes we need to have maybe a portable heater or something else that, there's the buddy heater. I've got that. And that's a great propane heater, and it's rated for inside. You can use it inside, and it's safe, and it can radiate some heat. And if you're in a situation where you've got to bug in and it's cold, you can stay warm. Most everything else, I'm just off the top of my head, almost everything else could be found in the house somewhere. You should have a lot of that stuff or everything else. But do you guys have anything else to add to that?
Well, one thing that I really like having, provides a lot of comfort, is I have the Goal Zero Yetis,
Oh,
battery
yeah.
battery bank. It has inverter. The kids can come plug their phones into it. It has USB ports. We can plug some lights into it, and it's just a nice little thing to gather around when the power's out. Maybe the kids are a little scared or whatever, and then you got some normalcy with that. So, and
Great idea.
I've got a huge long list of other things. Obviously, when you're in the house, you're a lot better prepared. But like you're saying, you already got your shelter, need your water. It's really important to have at least 3 months worth of food on your shelves. That's something I always advise. Just canned goods, stuff that you eat every day. So you have some normalcy. Food's already there. Kids feel comfortable. They can have whatever food they want because we don't have to go to the store. We're good for hopefully 3 months, right? We run out of milk, run out of a few things like that. But again, some normalcy would just have and comfort of having full shelves where the kids go in and see, oh, there's nothing to eat. That's what I hear all the time. Well, there's nothing good to eat. The shelves are full. There's no room for anything else on these shelves, but there's still nothing to eat. So,
and when they're left with no other option, there's plenty to eat.
Absolutely.
I would also add to this list, like a lot of people don't have some basic tools like a pry bar. Like I think everybody should have a big pry bar, crowbar, some type of, because sometimes, like especially in like an earthquake scenario, you may have to get one of those or use one of those to get out of your home. Your doors can get lodged shut just when the house creaks a little bit to the left or the right. The pressure on those doors can be so much that you can't open it. So something simple like that. Also, security, a sidearm, a taser if that makes you more comfortable, right? But also making sure, because you should at home, you've got gloves, you've got coats, you've got jackets, you've got all these other things, like in sanitation, you should have another way to go to the bathroom. If the plumbing goes out, you can't just keep using your toilet, because where's it going to go? It's not going to flush. No new water's coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then you should also have secondary methods of keeping people entertained, because they're going to get a lot more bored than they used to be. And they'll have to do the things that we did as kids to keep busy and to keep their minds entertained. Books, coloring books, playing board games. Like, remember to know where those things are so that the kids can be like, oh yeah, I'm used to this. And practice all this stuff. But again, go back, extra tools. Do I know where my water shutoff is? Do I know where my gas shutoff is? And do I know how to shut both of those off in an emergency?
And do you
because
have
if you have a gas leak, and is it zip locked to the gas meter outside?
Exactly. Yeah. Gas wrench, zip tied to the gas meter. Absolutely.
Do you know where your electrical panel is to turn that off if you have like an electrical fire keep starting?
And your outside main breaker as well. That's going to need to go off really quickly. But also, thanks for the reminder there, Scott. We live on a hill, so our toilet should work for a good amount of time, But one thing we have as part of our camping gear is a porta potty. What a perfect little device to throw in the vehicle and take with us, as part of our bug out planners, getting out of the home quickly with our 72-hour supplies, 96-hour supplies, but also perfect to use in the house, and then, I can dig a pit out back if I need to and dispose of it. But definitely gives some comfort of having the bathroom in the house, not having to go dig the trench out back.
And it makes more sense to try to keep things as similar to how they are now in those disasters, because it'll help alleviate a lot of the stresses for the family, right? Try to keep it as simple as possible and as similar as it currently is. So having a battery bank, that's great. Letting the kids still be able to use their tablets and other things. Internet may be gone, might be for a day, a week, or this could be the new normal. But making sure you have a plan in place, you know where things are, you stay organized, and you know what you need. Like if you're in a winter situation and the power goes out and it's more than 12 hours and you're getting into night, you're going to start getting to where your home is going to get to a freezing point. And if you don't shut the water off, you're going to have freezing pipe issues. Like you need to be prepared for those things. So that's why I brought up those other items, especially for a shelter-in situation, because a lot of people don't think about that. They just think, we got the food and water and I got the house as a shelter, so we're good. Go a few steps further and say, okay, what do we have to turn off? What if we have to turn these things off? What do we do?
Yeah,
because a buddy heater is not going to heat the whole home.
Room.
I know we're coming up against our time limit here, 45 minutes. Maybe we should just go quickly over a list of kits that everybody should consider. I've got some things here that, and not necessarily talk about all the contents of the kits, but going